It was 1:47 a.m. I should have been asleep, but instead I was doing that thing we all do. Lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, wondering if I'm okay. Financially, I mean.
You know that feeling, right? When you're scrolling and you see some article like average American has X amount saved and your stomach does that little flip?
I told myself I was just curious, just checking. But honestly, I was looking for validation. I wanted that article to tell me I was doing okay, that I wasn't falling behind.
So I clicked, and what I found, well, it didn't make me feel better. It made me feel something else entirely, something I wasn't ready for at 2 in the morning.
The average American checking account balance is around $3,000. Savings account about $8,000. I stared at those numbers for way too long, and then I did the thing you're not supposed to do. I opened my banking app right there at 2 in the morning because apparently I hate myself. The screen loaded, and I just sat there, comparing.
Here's the thing nobody tells you about comparing yourself to the average American. It doesn't matter if you're above or below that number. Either way, you're going to feel weird about it.
If you're below average, you feel behind. If you're above, you feel guilty or scared because you start wondering how everyone else is even surviving. But I kept reading because once you start, you can't stop. It's like financial self-harm. The article had more numbers, way more numbers. Average credit card debt, $7,000. Average car payment, $750 a month. Average student loan debt, $37,000. I felt my chest get tight.
And here's where it got really uncomfortable. Because I started doing the math, not on the average American, on me, on my life, my choices.
My rent, my subscriptions, that car payment I convinced myself was reasonable, that credit card balance I keep saying I'll pay off next month. Every single dollar I spend without thinking suddenly felt very visible.
The article kept going. Average retirement savings by age 30, around $45,000. By age 40, $120,000. I'm not going to tell you where I landed on that spectrum, but yeah.
You know what's weird? I thought this would make me feel worse about myself, but instead, I started feeling something different. Like maybe this isn't just a me problem.
Because if these are the averages, that means half the country is doing worse than this. Half. Let that sink in for a second.
So I kept digging. I went from that one article to 10 more. Different sources, different numbers, but they all painted the same picture. And the more I read, the more I realized I needed to share this. Because maybe you're lying in bed right now too, wondering if you're doing okay.
So, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through every single number I found. The good, the bad, and the absolutely terrifying. And then we're both going to check where we actually stand.
Okay, deep breath. Let's start with the basics. Income. Because that's where everything begins, right? The average American household makes about $75,000 a year. Sounds decent, actually.
But here's the first problem. That's household income, not individual. So if you're single or you're the only one working, you're probably looking at more like $40,000 to $50,000. And that's before taxes.
After taxes, health insurance, and retirement contributions, that $75,000 becomes more like $55,000 to $60,000 actually hitting your bank account. Divide that by 12 months.
You're looking at about $4,500 to $5,000 a month. Now, let's talk about where that money actually goes. Average rent in America, about $1,700 a month. And that's the average. If you live anywhere near a city, you're paying way more than that.
I'm talking $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 for a one-bedroom.
So, right off the top, you're spending a third of your income on rent. Maybe more. And we haven't even gotten to food yet. Groceries, eating out, that's another $500 to $700 a month if you're being careful.
Car payment? Remember that $750 average I mentioned? That's real. And that's just the payment. Insurance adds another $100 to $200 a month. Gas, maintenance, parking, you're easily over $1,000.
Utilities, internet, electricity, water, phone, another $200 to $300. Subscriptions you forgot you have, Spotify, Netflix, that gym membership you used twice, add another $100. Easy.
So let's do the math. Rent, $1,700. Food, $600. Car, $1,000. Utilities and subscriptions, $300. We're at $3,600. And we haven't talked about student loans, credit cards, or, living.
Student loans. Average payment? About $300 a month. But that's an average. Some people are paying way more. Some people finished paying years ago. And some people never had them to begin with.
And this is where it gets personal, right? Because your situation might be completely different. But the averages, they paint a picture. And that picture looks like most people are just barely making it work.
Credit card debt, $7,000 average. And here's what nobody tells you about credit card debt. It's not usually from emergencies. It's from Tuesday, from regular life that costs more than you have.
Medical debt. This one's wild. About 20% of Americans have medical debt. And the average amount? Over $2,000. For getting sick, for breaking a bone, for existing in a body that sometimes breaks down.
So here's where I am in my research, at like 3 in the morning now. I've got numbers everywhere, and I'm starting to see a pattern. It's not that people are bad with money. It's that the math literally doesn't math.
Let me show you what I mean. Remember that $4,500 to $5,000 a month take-home? We've already spent $3,600 just on basics. That leaves you with $900 to $1,400.
That's supposed to cover everything else. Car repairs, clothes, birthday gifts, haircuts, saving for retirement, building an emergency fund. Oh, and also enjoying your life occasionally with $900.
Kids, childcare costs more than rent in some states. College savings? Yeah, right. Most people are just trying to figure out how to afford groceries.
This is the part where it clicked for me. Like, really clicked. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It's just not designed for us to get ahead. It's designed for us to keep going.
But here's where it gets interesting. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe that's actually the first step to doing something different.
All right. This is the part where we get personal. Because all these averages, they're just numbers until you compare them to your actual life. So let's do that. Let's talk about savings.
Average checking account balance, $3,000. Average savings account, $8,000. So total liquid savings, about $11,000. That's what the average American has available if something goes wrong.
Now, here's the thing. If you have more than $11,000 saved, you're doing better than average. But does that feel like winning? Because $11,000 is, 3 months of expenses? Maybe 4 if you're lucky?
And if you have less than that, you're not failing. You're just on the other side of average, which means you're in the same boat as half the country. Actually, let's talk about that other half.
40% of Americans
can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or putting it on a credit card. $400. That's a car repair, a broken phone, a trip to urgent care, and almost half the country would be in crisis mode.
So, if you can cover a $400 emergency without panicking, congratulations, you're doing better than 40% of people. That's the bar. That's where we're at.
Let's talk retirement, because this one kept me up even longer. By age 30, you're supposed to have 1 year's salary saved. By 40, 3 years' salary. By 50, 6 years.
But the actual average? By 30, most people have about $45,000 saved, which sounds okay until you realize the average salary is $50,000. So people are already behind the rule before they even start.
By 50, the average person has about $170,000 saved for retirement, which seems like a lot until you remember that's supposed to last 30 years. That's less than $6,000 a year.
So here's where you need to check yourself. Pull up your retirement account right now. I know you don't want to, but do it. Compare it to your age bracket. Not to judge yourself, just to know. Because here's what I realized at 4 in the morning. Being behind doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're normal. It means the system is expensive and your paycheck is smaller than it should be. That's not on you. Let's talk about debt now, because this is where things get really real. Average credit card debt, $7,000. But 28% of Americans have more than $10,000, and it's growing. Student loans. This one's tricky because it's so variable. Some people have 0, some people have 200,000, but the average borrower, about $37,000 in debt, and they're paying it off for decades.
Car loans. Average balance about $23,000. Average monthly payment, $750 for a depreciating asset that you need to get to work so you can afford the payment. See the loop? So add it up. If you're average, you've got $7,000 in credit card debt, $37,000 in student loans, $23,000 in car debt. That's $67,000 of debt, not including your mortgage.
And remember that $11,000 in savings we talked about? Yeah, you can see the problem. Most people owe way more than they have. It's not a personal failing, it's just the math of modern life.
So here's your homework, and I mean this genuinely. Go add up your actual numbers, not what you think they are, not what you hope they are, your real savings, your real debt, your real monthly expenses. Don't judge it, don't panic, just see it. Because you can't change what you won't look at. And once you see where you actually stand, that's when things can start to shift.
Because here's the thing nobody talks about. Once you stop comparing yourself to some impossible standard and start comparing yourself to actual reality, you realize you're probably doing better than you think. Or at least, you're not alone in struggling.
So it's the next morning now. I actually slept. And I woke up thinking about all of this differently. Because somewhere between the statistics and the panic, I realized something important. These numbers, they're not just statistics. They're people. Real people making real decisions with real constraints. And when you see how many people are in the same situation, it stops feeling like a personal failure. It starts feeling like a system that's rigged. And I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. When the average person can't afford a $400 emergency, that's not a bunch of individual failures. That's a structural problem. When wages haven't kept up with inflation for decades, when housing costs triple but salaries stay flat, when education costs more than a house used to, you can't bootstrap your way out of that with a side hustle. But here's where it gets interesting.
Because once you understand the game is rigged, you can start playing it differently. Not by the old rules, by new ones that actually account for reality.
First thing, stop comparing yourself to your parents' timeline. They bought houses at 25 because houses cost $60,000. You're not behind. The finish line moved. That's not the same race. Second, emergency fund first. I know everyone says this, but now you know why. 40% of people can't handle $400. Don't be in that 40%. Even $500 saved changes everything. 3, that credit card debt. The average interest rate is over 20%, which means if you owe $7,000, you're paying over $1,000 just in interest every year for nothing. That's your enemy number 1. You don't have to pay it all off tomorrow, but every extra $20 toward that balance saves you $4 more in interest. It's a guaranteed 20% return. Your best investment is getting rid of that debt.
4, automate everything. If you're relying on willpower to save money at the end of the month, it's not happening. Set up automatic transfers the day you get paid. Even if it's $50, you won't miss what you don't see.
5, track your actual spending. Not to judge yourself, but because most people have no idea where their money goes. Subscriptions you forgot about, tiny purchases that add up. You can't fix what you can't see. 6, retirement. Even if you're behind the recommended amount, something is better than nothing. If your job matches contributions, that's free money. Take it. Even 3% of your paycheck adds up over time. But here's the most important thing, and I really mean this. Your worth is not your net worth. The system is expensive. Your paycheck is smaller than it should be. You're not broken. The math is just hard. So here's what I'm doing. I looked at my real numbers, not the numbers I wished I had. And I made a plan based on reality, not on what financial gurus say I should have done 10 years ago. $500 emergency fund first. Then attack the credit card. Then build up to 3 months' expenses. Then retirement. One step, then the next. Not all at once. Just forward. And you know what? It feels better than pretending I should already have it figured out. Because I don't. Most people don't. And that's okay. What matters is starting from where you actually are. So that's it. That's what I learned from my late-night spiral into American financial statistics. The average American is struggling. You're probably struggling. And that doesn't make either of you a failure. It makes you normal. It makes you human. And once you stop fighting reality and start working with it, that's when you can actually build something. Not perfect, not Instagram-worthy, just real. I hope this helped. I hope you feel a little less alone. And I hope you check your numbers. Not to stress yourself out, but to finally see where you really stand. Because that's where change starts. Thanks for watching. And hey, however you compare to these averages, whatever your numbers look like, you're doing better than you think. Or at least, you're not doing worse than everyone else. And somehow, that matters.